I am Mark Stewart Greenstein. I campaign when I do campaign as Mark Stewart, and I'm running in 2 state Senate district races this November. I am I'm really the founder of a small group of independent, I call us conservatarians, members of every party. I mean, literally, Democrat, Republican, Constitution. I've got one green and some libertarians. We, the Epic Party members, are doing this video for you who could move our beliefs so much faster and capture us this November and beyond in your principled established parties. We're not established. You in the Constitution Party are. You in the Libertarian Party are quite established. So this is my response on behalf of a good number of us who I think would be the same. This is to the Michigan set of questions that went out to Libertarian, actually Constitution Party presidential candidates. So one of the candidates shared them with me. Let me give you my take. So this goes especially to the 4 of you who I consider the right guys for leading the Constitution Party, and the 7 of you and counting, I've got a few more to speak with, in the Libertarian Party. Because it's a CP request, though it has some libertarian overtones, this is really going to the 4 of you, the prominent Constitution Party people that I think hopefully will occupy all 4 top positions. And I'll get to that in another video. So I'm addressing this to the Constitution Party foursome, the 4 formidable candidates that I see, and hopefully all 4 of you will be, after this weekend, in good position for executive branch leadership. So I'm referring not just to P and VP, but I think this party should, at the end of the May 2nd convention, be nominating 15 positions deep, and at least 4 of you should be well up there. So this is especially for the 4 of you in the Constitution Party that I revere and hope you will occupy not just the P and the VP slots, but 4 of the top 14 slots, because this party ought to be nominating by the end of the convention people who the president is committed to uplifting, putting into cabinet positions, some of which should be destroyed under your auspices. Some of them should function constitutionally. So, gentlemen, the 4 of you are Charles, Dan, Don, and Scott. Mr. Bradley, I voted for you 4 years ago, mainly on the strength of you and not Daryl. I hope you'll be involved in governance going forward. Gentlemen, the first 4 questions from the Michigan agenda. How do you respond to the statement, quote, "You cannot win"? And why are you doing this? So this would be a response I would like to see. A definition of winning that is quite realistic and very meaningful. Winning is making a difference in turning this into a constitutional republic, in rolling back socialism at the same time, in expanding freedom at the same time. They all go hand in hand. So, if your campaigns dramatically move the agenda of those who do get elected, okay, Tweedledee and Tweedledum at the D and R level, the Republicans and Democrats who will get elected to Congress, say for maybe a few seats, it's going to be all them, okay? Sorry, CP's not ready yet, LP's not ready yet to occupy congressional seats. They're not going to win unless a horrible, horrible thing happens to a congressional candidate from one of the big parties. So, not ready yet. 4 or 5 years from now, very likely. And how that happens is making inroads, making a difference. So, at the presidential level, if libertarians or Constitution candidates cause in a close race one candidate to lose, to make it clear that but for your party, the other guy would have won, that is influential. 4 years ago, the 3% that Gary Johnson garnered was split pretty much evenly. That's what exit polls showed. So his 3% in some election could have been a difference maker, not here. Now, Constitution Party is almost certainly taking from Trump. So there could be a difference maker if he goes down in a close race, thanks to you. Difference makers at the congressional level, the state house level, are those who, again, in a loss, still have caused one big party to win, the other to lose because of you. Now, here's the other, why are you in it? I hope it's to develop those people at the state house level to run for congressional seats. That is a win for either of your parties. And that's very doable if you, unlike Gary Johnson, dip down, show your support, and roundly put everybody who attends your convention this coming month into play. If they're good speakers, they should be running for something. For God's sake, it's easier to run against the big establishment now than ever before. There are no events that Donald Trump can have live. There is no bus for Biden to woo reporters face to face. You are closer to an even playing field than ever before. At the congressional and state house level, you've got a better chance than ever before as well. Party does not matter as much when we're talking mayors and state house districts. Half the time, candidates don't even put up the registration of their party. Most of the time, they're embarrassed. Republican, they don't want to say. Democrat, even worse. So, you are getting closer to an even playing field when all that people can see is your name, your background on a Zoom conference, and not cheering throngs that Biden can get, or downstream, the congressional candidates that you want to support. They have a better chance. This is such a good opportunity. I really hope you guys will implore everybody at your convention to either be running in 2020 or 2022, and if not, be supporting hard. What's that mean, supporting hard? Not financially, just getting groups in front of you. And that's a Zoom conference, okay? Your campaign doesn't need to travel an inch. You swivel to your next computer. There's mine. You put that next computer in play half hour later because a group in Omaha wants to hear you. And you finish up with your group in Cleveland, and then an hour after that, you're back, and you're with your nationwide group that might be NRA supporters. That is campaigning new style. It is really effective. You will win. If you, by my definition of win, you will win this year in making such strides towards the republic that you want. 2024 then makes you guys first line prime candidates. Number two, are you not taking votes from Trump and giving them to the Democrat candidate? Maybe, and hopefully. You got to take from someone, otherwise, why be there? And now, there is no better or worse choice. Now that Trump and the GOP basically blew out the deficit to look, Republicans used to be a party of fiscal conservancy. They would hold the line against even a 5% tax increase. Spending $6.5 trillion, if it were all in 1 year, is adding 500% tax increase. And since poor people can't pay that tax, for the middle income family and upper income families, it's going to be over 1,000%. So there's your new tax, thanks to Republicans. Of course, it's not going to get paid in this or even the next few years. It's going to our grandchildren, some of our children. They're paying it, and that true is Republican fashion. And that's not crisis-based. Come on. In the best economy ever, and I might agree with that up until March, this Congress still foisted our kids with a $1 trillion deficit. These, of all time, should have been times of surplus to build up. So Republicans might mean better, I think they do, than your typical Democrat leader. but their actions are at least as bad. And because they know better, in some ways, I think of them as worse. So let them go down. Let Biden, or maybe Cuomo, we'll talk, be their nominee. And let our job be to hold the line at Congress. When you have a strong, constitutionally based congressional delegation, then the powers of the presidency are not that strong. They can and should be blunted. And you know Article 1 needs to be more fervently applied than it has been for the last 40 years. So, what can we do for pulling off votes? Pull them away at the congressional level for our candidates who actually can win. And even in defeat, let's say your state with, say, 6 congressional races, 10% in 5 of those cases go to the third-party candidates that I'm talking to. Your underlings have garnered 10% of the vote in most of the spots. That legislature, when it convenes of exclusively Democrats and Republicans, better pay attention, and they will know it. Because that 10% next time round has to get listened to. So once again, that's a type of victory. And even though our standard bearer is going down to an electoral defeat, it is a win for everybody that standard bearer has been helping, and a win for 2024, even at the top levels. Number 3. If you were president, what would you do about COVID-19? Do you see the virus as a national security issue? Well, I saw an intentional use of the virus, or some virus like it, in 2005. This is when I ran a campaign for U.S. Senate. I ran in New York in a primary attempt against a little-known senator named Hillary Clinton. Okay, I didn't get very far. But in the process, I had one position paper saying our biggest fear right now should be not a nuclear missile attack, not even a bomb in a series of mall after mall after mall, but we should be defending against germ warfare. And I even specifically mentioned China as among the countries that we should be most on the lookout for. Well, here it is, and it is possible that that Wuhan factory was developing things for warfare after all. So yes, we as a national security measure should have our Department of Defense there to blunt it and potentially kill the people who are developing these warfare tools. They are a clear and present danger to us. Now, should we be taking measures for our own individuals to protect ourselves? Not at the command of government, okay? Government, state and federal, might be a source of information. Gratuitous information, okay? Trust those websites. Trust these private people who seem to be on top of the right studies and the best way that individuals and businesses can protect themselves. Do not force it. And once again, back to the sadness of Republicans elected as governors. They're closing down their states with the same ferocity as Democrats are. Okay? They are seeing power, because you have it when you declare states of emergency, and they are misusing it at about the level of Democrat governors. So we're no better off with elected Republicans in this crisis than elected Democrats. Number 4, last one for this round. What do you think of free trade agreements? Well, if they were agreements to freely trade, I would like that. But as you know, they are agreements to restrict trade in certain areas. The bottom line should act like the 10th Amendment, that in the absence of language, all is free. That is the best way. Economically, we know it's best. In creating people more jobs, in creating happiness, goods, services, we've known this since 1776. It's been objected to since 1777, when guilds would say, but our stranglehold on a niche area is threatened, and we like to use the government to protect us. Well, it'd be nice if there were no negative consequences, but for every guild, every nowadays labor union, every special industry that is protected, there are tons of consumers who are hurt, and several small businesses who don't have the ability to compete and thereby help not only themselves, their workers, but consumers themselves with better prices. Free trade agreements should be scrapped. The best use is the free market. And if that means there is a trade deficit, so what? The balance of trade is the silliest number in any national statistic. All it says when the U.S. has a high trade deficit with China, for example, that we're wealthy enough that we can afford their stuff. That's what it's an indicator of. It means we're happily trading green pieces of paper for computers and iPhones and clothing. How good is that? Most contend that the trade comes back, because what else is China going to do with those green pieces of paper other than trade back with us? And just in case we're wrong and they don't, what a good deal. Okay, we have just sent green pieces of paper and gotten back $400 iPhones. Love it. Free trade is free. You can't do any better than that, and the government should stay out. Yes, it means there are some industries here that will be hurt. We are the epitome of capitalism. That's robust capitalism that makes the humans here better at the industry that's getting hurt because we'll manage it better, or to move into the next industry and do it even better. You don't lament that there are no more blacksmiths. Thank goodness, because Americans and Germans brought forth automobiles. We don't need to shoe horses for streets in a big way now. My first job entailed, this is in the mid-1980s, entailed running from building to building in Hartford, Connecticut to get couriers from insurance firms to their lawyers and back. I'm out of a job a few years later because of something called a fax machine. And those who manufactured fax machines, they're gone now pretty much too, because the internet allows us to copy, scan, paste almost anything. Dynamic capitalism saves all bright people. Guilds that are protected by free, which aren't really free trade agreements, protect lazy people. Our government should not be in the business of doing that. Plus, it's not constitutional. All right, I got a few more. We'll do that in another video. Thanks for listening.